Welcome to It Is Written Canada. Thank you for joining us. A large percentage of clients Dr. Darlene Blaney sees struggle with digestive disorders. This is critical because our digestion influences everything from nutrient absorption to immune function. Some scientists even refer to the digestive tract as the second brain due to the strong gut-brain connection.
Having a healthy digestive system is crucial in obtaining optimal health physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. Our special guest today is Dr. Darlene Blaney, who has a PhD in nutrition and is the owner, along with her husband, of our health store and nutrition practice.
Dr. Darlene Blaney, welcome to It Is Written Canada. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Darlene, can you tell us about some of the major symptoms that your clients are struggling with due to poor digestion?
Yes. In fact, probably 70 to 80% are struggling with digestion issues. Gas, bloating, heartburn, acid reflux. Probably one of the major complaints is low energy. We don't always attribute that to poor digestion, but if your digestion's not working well, 75% of your energy can go into digestion, leaving you with maybe 25% to do everything else that's necessary. So yeah, it can create great havoc.
That's incredible. 75% of our energy goes to digesting the food that we eat?
If your digestion's not working well. Yes. If your digestion's working well, then you will feel that difference in energy. And so, when I have customers or clients come in and say to me, what do you have that I can take to give me energy? First thing I'll ask them is, how is your digestion? Because if we can get their digestion going, that's just the natural response, is to get good energy coming as well.
Good energy. So are we talking about diet, lifestyle? Does that affect the digestion? And could that improve the digestion?
100%. 100%. What we put in counts. So every time you're putting something in your mouth, it's either good for you or not good for you. If it's not good for you, your body has to use its energy to get rid of those toxins, break it down, sift out what's good, what's bad. You put good things into your mouth, and that's pure energy. That's going to give your body the nutrients it needs for the cells to reproduce, boost your immune system. So food for fuel is the key, the right food for fuel. But lifestyle plays a big role as well. So smoking can interfere with digestion. Stress is a big one in our world today. Stress. Activity levels when we're sedentary, versus being active to keep things moving. Fiber is another one. Fiber keeps things moving, so taking that in through diet as well. So
your body's made up of all these different systems, and one of them is the digestive system. So it's a part of a complete machine, right?
Absolutely.
And that to work any machine, you need fuel. So you're saying if we're not getting the right fuel, then the machine doesn't work well, and it is actually
seizes up.
It seizes up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Yep.
Dr. Darlene, can you tell us a little bit more about fiber? How important it is, and also how much should we be consuming each day?
Absolutely. Fiber is important for everybody. When it comes to fiber, as I mentioned, it helps move things through, especially your intestinal tract, kind of keeps things going. For diabetics, particularly, it helps to control the amount of glucose that is in the blood to get it into the cells and doesn't give you that spike. So fiber is a key. There's two kinds of fiber that we need, both kinds we need. One is insoluble fiber, and one is called water soluble. So you have soluble and insoluble. If you were to think of examples for either of them, insoluble would be wheat. If we were to take wheat bran, let's say, and we had a glass of water and we added a tablespoon of wheat bran to that and tried to mix it in, what would happen? Would it dissolve?
Floats on top.
No, it would float on top. So then if we did the same with a glass of water and a tablespoon of oat bran and mixed it in, what would happen?
It absorbs it.
It absorbs it. So that's insoluble versus water soluble. We need both kinds. And the neat thing is, plant-based foods have both kinds of those kind of fiber. So we need both. The problem is a lot of times we will take these foods and we'll start to break them up. So when we think of wheat bran, usually someone who's constipated says, I need to eat a bran muffin, right? Anything with bran to give you that fiber. But what about the water soluble one that we need as well? And so a lot of times we'll eat the refined white bread and then we'll turn around and buy something like bran buds or something with the high fiber of the bran and try to compensate, or buy some type of a fiber mix that we just mix in water and drink. Instead, go for those whole foods that have both kinds of fiber in it.
So let's talk about
to keep us regular.
So where should we be getting our fiber from?
So pretty much whole foods as grown. When we think of animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, milk, cheese, the dairy part, that has zero fiber in it. When I used to eat meat, if anyone who's eaten meat, if you look at roast beef, it looks very fibrous, right? And I was blown away when I was told zero fiber in that. But no fiber in that. But your plant products are loaded with fiber. Particularly legumes, beans are very high in fiber. But any of your vegetables, your fruits, your grains are nice and high. So eating the whole foods as grown.
So you got fiber in an apple, fiber in a banana, fiber in celery. Of course, most people would look at that and say, oh, that has fiber in it, definitely.
Yes.
But every single
plant
has fiber in it of different kinds of fiber. So we should be getting a variety of those, right?
That is correct.
The different kinds of fiber.
Absolutely, that's right. As long as you're eating a variety of fruits and vegetables and grains and beans, and you will get it all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more when we take a food and start breaking it down that we start to lose the benefits.
Yeah, and I see people going into the grocery store and they're told to get fiber, and so they buy some container that says fiber on the side of it, and they put this in a glass and they drink it, and it's like, it's easier just buy the fruits and vegetables. That's the healthiest way of getting it, right?
Well, you get all the extra benefits of all the nutrients and everything in it too. The other way is just fiber.
Yes.
This way is the whole package deal.
The whole, whole food.
Dr. Darlene, you mentioned something earlier on about constipation and about, bowel problems.
Yes.
So can you tell us about the importance of fiber to address this, specifically constipation, and what is your definition of constipation?
Sure. And it's interesting when it comes to fiber. If we don't have the right kind of fiber or enough of it, it can go either way. You can have constipation or diarrhea, actually. And so when it comes to constipation, everyone kind of has a different idea in their minds. Like I'll have some people say to me, oh yeah, I go once a week. Once a week is constipation. So ideally, once a day. Some say we should go after every single meal. To me, once a day is what I say. At least once a day is the focus to be on. Yes. And if you eat enough of those fruits and vegetables and whole foods, it really should, knows where to find where it needs to be to keep things moving.
So, Darlene, what about water? Because that's a part of what you've been talking about with fiber and, whether it's water soluble. How much water do you think we should be drinking?
Yes, water is very important, just like the fiber, to keep things moving through. How much we should be drinking? If we want to really weigh it out scientifically, they say 1 ounce for every 2 pounds of our weight to figure that out. But on average, I tell people 8 to 10 glasses a day.
Okay.
And of course, that'll change according to your activity and your build and so forth, right? So, yes. And what kind of water? A lot of people ask me too, what kind of water? Honestly, I just tell people, just drink water. You choose, just drink water is what I care about. Get the water in you. Yes.
So can we go back a little bit to that formula that you use, the scientific formula? So if someone weighs, let's say 100 pounds,
Okay.
you're saying that half of that they need to be consuming in ounces.
Correct.
So if they weigh 100 pounds, they need to be drinking 50 ounces
Yes.
of water, which is, and there's 8 ounces in a cup or in a glass.
Yeah.
Okay, so there would be
6
glasses. Okay.
of water. Yeah.
If you're 100 pounds.
Yes. If you're
Yeah, but what I'm saying is just,
Yeah,
just
give you
to
the
give
idea.
us a rough idea.
Yes.
And that's just to keep the metabolic process
Exactly.
going. So if it's a hot day or if you're exercising,
That's
then
right.
obviously you're going to need more than those 6 glasses.
Absolutely. That's right. Yes. Yes. Someone active versus just sitting at home reading a book, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. For sure.
Dr. Darlene, can you tell us when should we be drinking this water?
Yes. So ideally is not to drink large amounts with your meal. If you need to sip a little bit while you eat, that is fine. You don't want to choke or something if something is dry. But the key is to drink between your meals. You actually need water to process your food and digest it and break it down. But that all happens between the meal to prepare your stomach for the food to come.
So between the meals, so breakfast, lunch is over
Exactly.
here. So somewhere in between after you have digested your food, maybe an hour after,
Well,
2
even
hours.
2 hours.
2 hours after
yes,
you've
2-3 hours, and then like a half hour before your next meal.
Okay.
That's a really good time frame. Give your food a chance to digest.
Right.
If we drink water, too much water when we're eating, digestive enzymes are already in your saliva. And so that waters and weakens it down, and then you don't have those digestive enzymes to break down your food the same. And then it also promotes what is called hydrochloric acid, so that we're expecting as the food to come, is preparing it to break that down.
What about snacking between meals? Does that affect?
Yes. So as soon as we snack, now there's food on the stomach again. So once again, you're liquefying your enzymes, but also keeping your stomach from making that hydrochloric acid. And I like to give the example of when you go for a walk and you walk all day, do your feet get tired? What about your stomach? If it just works all day, it gets tired. It never gets a break to prepare for more food to come. It's just constantly digesting, and just overwhelms the system.
Dr. Blaney, can you tell us a little bit more about hydrochloric acid?
Yes, it plays a major role when it comes to digestion. 80% of digestive situations today are underactive stomach. Unfortunately, medically, they tend to diagnose only an overactive stomach, which is in only 20% less of these cases. So in most cases, people are being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So our bodies, we want them to be alkaline. Your stomach, though, is the exception to the rule. Your stomach should be very acidic in order to break down that food, and that's the hydrochloric acid. And so many cases when we get the gas, the heartburn, the acid reflux, what's the first thing we reach for are antacids. So we're buffering the situation. We're buffering our stomach, but we're making the situation worse. So you start off and you eat breakfast and you don't have enough hydrochloric acid to break that down. So what happens by the time lunch comes, you still have this food sitting there and fermenting. You might have some gas, you might, have a bit of heartburn. Bloating is a very common one. But you eat lunch now, and lunch goes on top. And so now it's going to try to break down that lunch, but you still have all this stuff happening in there of the other food that didn't digest. Pretty soon you have supper, and supper for most people is the larger meal of the day. And as you go through your day, your metabolism decreases. So that means your digestion slows down and your absorption slows down. And here you have, no hydrochloric acid in prep between your meals. When you're trying to drink your water and get it ready, there's food sitting there, so it can't make hydrochloric acid. And so by the end of supper, you got this bubbly brew that's starting to happen. It's fermenting, and all these toxins start to go into your bloodstream, and your liver is trying to deal with everything. You lay down to sleep, and you end up with the acid reflux, right? So this is what happens when we don't have enough hydrochloric acid in our stomach. It begins to ferment. Now this, your liver now, is responsible for cleaning your blood. So some people end up with a fatty liver from this because the food isn't breaking down. Especially fat is the most difficult to break down. So your body now stores it. What about all the fermentation part of it? These toxins are going into your bloodstream. Your liver's having to deal with this. I have clients who come in and they're in tears and they say to me, my doctor diagnosed me with an alcoholic liver. I told him I don't drink alcohol. He doesn't believe me. He turns around and says, really, how much do you drink in your closet? And I say, nothing. I don't drink any alcohol. And their doctor says, I don't believe you. You need to stop. You've got an alcoholic liver and it's serious. You need to take your problem seriously. So they come to see me in tears and I say, I believe you. They say, why do you believe me? I said, because here's what's happening. Your food isn't breaking down. You don't have the hydrochloric acid. That fermentation, those alcohols are in your bloodstream, going through your liver, trying to be cleaned, the same as an alcoholic, someone who's drinking alcohol. And so you end up with this situation that you have to deal with. So we need to turn this all around. We need to get hydrochloric acid going in our stomach. How do we do that? Well, one thing is to try to eat 3 even meals, no snacking between, drink your water between to make the hydrochloric acid. Stress will keep you from making hydrochloric acid as well. And so sometimes we have to look at what can we do for stress, right? To make things a little bit easier going. And food combining can make a difference as well. And depending what you eat, like our systems were made to eat foods as growing again. As soon as we're taking in protein, animal protein, we need lots of hydrochloric acid to break that down. If you think about the animals that eat meat, they have a very short intestinal tract, short colon, very high hydrochloric acid in their stomach. So here we're trying to break this down and we don't have the hydrochloric acid. Without that hydrochloric acid, we also don't absorb our nutrients. So B12 is a very common one that we can lack from a lack of hydrochloric acid. We always tend to think if you don't eat animal products, you're going to be low in B12. But studies actually show that those who eat animal products actually lack B12 more than even the vegetarians because they're not able to produce enough hydrochloric acid to break down the actual animal products to even absorb the B12 anyways. So then that becomes an issue.
Dr. Darlene, this has been so fascinating for me learning about hydrochloric acid and realizing that we don't really have enough. And you mentioned ways to increase our hydrochloric acid is by not snacking. So we're giving our stomachs a break to produce more hydrochloric acid, and then making sure that we drink our water in between those meals. Are there any other ways that we can increase our hydrochloric acid?
Yes, some people, you may have heard of apple cider vinegar. Some people will take that at the start of their meals. Apple cider vinegar is pure hydrochloric acid. So you can take a little bit at the start of your meal if you choose. I personally do not even like the taste or smell, so it's not my first option. And I do have a concern when people use a lot of it, it can actually pull potassium out of your body as well. So just be careful with that. You can take hydrochloric acid capsules that a lot of times is also found in digestive enzyme supplements. But the third option that is my favorite is just lemon juice. Lemons are actually acidic, but when they hit your saliva, they become alkaline. So when you take lemon juice in, it alkalizes your body, which is what you want to prevent diseases. So it's not giving hydrochloric acid to your stomach, right? But how it works is a lemon has a properties to stimulate your stomach to actually make hydrochloric acid. So lemon juice teaches your stomach to do what it needs to do. And that's why I absolutely love doing lemon water first thing in the morning when you wake up or between your meals, and just make sure to give yourself, about a half hour before eating so that the stomach can actually produce that hydrochloric acid.
So I've got 2 questions that people might be thinking about. Number one, doesn't lemon juice kind of take off the enamel from my teeth? And then a second one is, if I have too much acid in my stomach, am I going to get ulcers?
Good questions. Okay, so as far as the enamel off your teeth, there's a little bit of discrepancy in that one. I actually see a dentist in Mexico, and he laughs at it. He says, we eat lemons, we suck lemons, we have no issues with the enamel on our teeth. So I don't know. I tell people, if you are concerned, use a straw. It's a great way to avoid it, or brush your teeth with just water afterwards. Works well. As far as ulcers, that's a little bit misleading. So ulcers themselves are made from a bacteria. This bacteria can grow and then fester in the lining of your stomach and create an ulcer. What causes that bacteria in the first place is a lack of hydrochloric acid. The hydrochloric acid actually kills the bacteria. And so most cases, people who have ulcers have an underactive stomach. Now, of course, if you have an ulcer, you're not going to add in some acid. That's going to burn like an open wound. So you got to heal that first. But then you got to get that hydrochloric acid working so that it can clean your stomach and clean the bacteria.
This has been so fascinating. We've learned so much. I have another question for you. What are some diseases that are related to digestive disorders?
Well, in general, arthritis is a very common one. Many different types of autoimmune diseases in general. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, these are usually kind of very digestion related. IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. When it comes to digestion, let me explain one more thing. When this food is not broken down properly in our stomach, large particles can sometimes slip through the intestinal tract. And then the body sees it as a foreign object and begins to attack it. And so what is it actually attacking? It's just food. So we end up with our bodies attacking itself. And that's how we end up with these autoimmune diseases. And we end up with all these allergies and food sensitivities more than anything.
Dr. Darlene, can we overcome these food sensitivities and allergies?
The good news is yes. Yes. Once we get digestion going, we can overcome them. One of the things is when these large particles go through, sometimes you might digest really well, and the next time you may not digest as well, depending on the hydrochloric acid amount in your stomach, depending if you're under stress and so forth. So this is what confuses some people. They might eat a banana today and have no problems, eat a banana tomorrow, and suddenly they seem to be reacting to it in some way. So if we just get that digestion going, get the hydrochloric acid moving, now you're breaking down that food, eventually you will no longer have those food sensitivities. It can mean that you have to increase your digestive enzymes once you start to absorb those a bit more as well. So sometimes if you know you have a distinctive food sensitivity of something particularly, you might want to stop that for a while and just give your system a rest and be able to build up the enzymes to reintroduce it. Most cases, it's a protein type food that becomes an issue, like the gluten in wheat. You might not be celiac. You might just have a difficult time breaking down the gluten. So getting that hydrochloric acid and the enzymes going, you'll be able to break it down again and overcome those.
So when it comes to food, I've heard of the gut-brain connection as well. So can the food that I eat and this connection between the gut, can that affect my moods, my thinking, even my spirituality?
Very much, actually. Mm-hmm. So we have something called the vagus nerve. Mm-hmm. There are actually 12 cranial nerves. The vagus nerve is the largest one. It runs from the brain stem down to part of your bowel. So right through, they call it actually the second brain because it has such an effect on your metabolism, even your heart rate. Of course, your digestion is a big one. So the neurotransmitters, if you've heard that, in your brain, which send the signals for what your body can do or needs to do. This is an interesting thing. Do you know there's 100 million neurons in the lining of your intestinal tract?
Oh.
Sending signals all over your body. What we eat does count. It affects our brain. So physically, mentally, spiritually, it's all connected. We need all three to experience total health, receive total health.
So it's like you have a brain down here as well, right?
Yes,
Because you have all those
exactly.
neurons in your stomach.
That's right. Telling the body what to do, telling your brain even what to think.
Right.
It just goes back and forth.
So they call it like your second brain.
Yes.
And so sometimes people can say, I feel it in my gut, right?
Exactly.
So you have that, and it affects your moods,
Very much.
the food that you eat.
And the opposite way too.
Yes.
Right? Same way we were talking about stress, but when you're happy,
Yes.
when you laugh, it stimulates the digestion. Absolutely. So it'll either slow it down or speed it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Friends, you might have a lot more questions about health, and we have a free offer that we can send to you right now.
8 Steps to Health will guide you through 8 simple changes you can make to help you along your journey to live longer and feel better.
Before you go, we wish to pray for you. If you would like to send us your personal prayer requests, the information for how to contact us is on the screen. Tell us your request, and we will put you on our prayer list and pray for you personally.
Before you go, we would also like to invite you to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also listen to our podcasts. And if you go to our website, you can see our latest programs.
You too can experience the fullness of life that is found in the words of Jesus when he said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God."